Welcome back to Wall Again, where passion meets music, and in this episode I am going to be running through 10 bands that Andy Edwards considers pointless, and I'm going to give my opinion on whether I agree with Andy or not. So before we get started, Andy's video is very much a tongue-in-cheek video, and this is very similar, just having a bit of fun here. If there's a band on this list that you like, don't get offended, okay? We're just going through some bands here that Andy thinks are pointless, and I might agree with him. And if you don't agree with me or Andy, please put it in the comments, let us know, but keep it civil. Okay, let's kick off here. At number 10, he has Bush. So Bush are a band that came from England, and they came out around the early to mid 1990s, around the time that grunge was popular in the US. And Bush really took on the grunge mantle, or the alternative rock mantle, in the UK, and they're actually very big in the US as well. They had an album out, I think it was called Razor Blade Suitcase, and on that album there was a massive hit called Swallowed, or Swallow, which was quite a good song. But they also had some other albums out and some other big hits at the time as well. Bush weren't really a band I got into, to be honest. Never really got them. I always thought they were a bit dour, and I don't think their music really connected with me. But like, some people did think they were very good back in the 1990s. But would I think they're actually a pointless band? Yeah, I'd pretty much say Bush were a pointless band. Maybe you call them a post-grunge band, but that whole scene, there was bands like Nickelback, Three Doors Down, and then later on Creed. It was all very generic, and yeah, there wasn't like a whole lot of great musicianship or music happening with all those bands, and I think a lot of them can be put into that category. They didn't really do much to bring on rock music or music in general, and yeah, I think a lot of them were pretty pointless. Even though some of them had good songs and stuff like that, they're probably bands that I could take or leave. Although in saying that, I know that Creed are back together, and if they do play Dublin, I will go because I like some of their songs, so don't hold me to that. Okay, coming in at number 9, he has Simple Minds. So again, Simple Minds are another band that were very popular in the 1980s. They were, I think are they from Glasgow or from Scotland? Somewhere up there. I don't think they're English. But yeah, they were extremely popular. They had a lot of hits in the 1980s. But I always see Simple Minds as a bit of a poor man's U2. I really don't take them as a serious or a good band. They have a couple of okay hits, but like, if they didn't exist, would it really make that much of a difference? I don't think so. I think they are pretty much a pointless band, and I would agree with Andy on them as well. Coming in at number 8 is Lenny Kravitz. Now, Andy would contest that Lenny came from a privileged family, should I say, and that he had money and he had connections, and that was why he was able to make his way in the music business. I don't know how true that is. All I know is that album that he released in the early 1990s, Are You Gonna Go My Way, was the hit song on it. I thought it was quite good. I thought that song was excellent, even though it was maybe a little bit formulaic and generic. But it was still a great rock song, and coming out at a point in time when classic rock was probably not at its peak, around 1991, 92. Grunge was kind of taking over, alternative rock, and, big guitar solos weren't really cool. But like, when Lenny came on the scene, he kind of made it, cool again to be, into guitar music, and I think that's important. And I think Lenny Kravitz does have a place in music history. In the late 90s, then he brought out some other albums that didn't have as much guitar work on them. Still some good songs on those albums, but I don't think he's pointless. I'd have to disagree with Andy on that one. Okay, coming in at number 7 are a band called Camel, who I have on my list that I need to get to and listen to their back catalogue, but I don't know anything about them, so I'm going to skip over them. There's no point in me talking about a band I don't know anything about. Okay, coming in at number 6 is David Gray. So David Gray has the distinction of having the most album sales for a single album in Ireland of all time. That album is White Ladder, and every household in Ireland has a copy of that album on CD, including this household. I have a copy of it there on CD. I didn't buy it when it came out, but I got it shortly after that, and it sits over there with the rest of my CDs that I don't really listen to often, gathering dust pretty much. And I think a lot of these CDs in Ireland are gathering dust. I don't think many people are whipping out White Ladder by David Gray very often to listen to it. But yeah, to me, David Gray was always very boring. I never really got into him. He reminded me of bands like Travis and stuff like that. They're just very pedestrian, acoustic based rock or pop, and yeah, I just really never got into it. They had no edge to them. The songwriting was okay, it was mediocre. But yeah, not a band that I would have had, or David Gray wasn't an artist that I would have had much love for. So yeah, I agree that he's pretty pointless, Andy. I'll agree with you on that one. Coming in at number 5 is Primal Scream. So just to say, if you haven't watched the video by Andy Edwards, I'd encourage you to go and watch it, because he's much funnier than I am. A bit mad, but funny nonetheless. And he has a great story about Primal Scream. And I won't ruin it on you. So go to his channel, have a look at that video, and encourage him to collab with me, because I think that would be good if the two of us got on a call. I'm sure we'd have some heated and difference of opinions, and it would be good to get those all ironed out. But anyway, we'll keep going with the list. So Primal Scream, yeah, look, I've seen Primal Scream live a number of times. They have that album, that iconic album, Screamadelica, I think it's called. It's got like a red background and like a little face with white and blue around it. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool cover. There's some good tracks on the album, but yeah, they're not great. They're not a fantastic rock band, Primal Scream. Like they're very pedestrian, very mediocre. And are they pointless? Yeah, they probably are a pointless band. Andy, I'd probably agree with you on that. I think they probably are pointless, and I don't know why they're still touring. They really don't have that much to offer these days, I don't think. Coming in at number 4, he has Jack Johnson. Again, another guy who I know nothing about, so I'm going to skip over this one. I'm not going to talk about someone who I don't know anything about, but I don't have any plans to listen to Jack Johnson, whereas I do have plans to listen to Camel. So we'll keep going here. Coming in at number 3, he has Stereophonics. So yeah, I like some of the Stereophonics stuff. Their first album is pretty good. Their second album is very good. I used to play in a band, a covers band, and we did play Stereophonics songs. We played The Bartender and the Thief. I think we might have played Dakota as well. So they have good songs sprinkled throughout their catalogue, but they're definitely not an album band. And I think live, if you condense the best songs that they have into like a 40-minute set, I think they do a really, really good job. And I did see them at Oxygen, which was the festival in Punchestown about maybe, 18 years ago at this stage. And they were amazing. They were on in the middle of the day on a Saturday afternoon. The sun was shining, and they played all their hits, and they were fantastic. And because they had such a short set list, they couldn't fill it up with rubbish. So I think Stereophonics do have a place in terms of being an important band. I don't think they're pointless, but at the same time, I don't think they're one of the best bands either. And they do have a lot of rubbish songs like Have a Nice Day. Okay, coming in at number 2, he's got Motley Crue. Now, yeah, I like Motley Crue. They definitely don't have the songs. They don't have the music or the chops. They came from the Los Angeles scene, and they were there just before Guns N' Roses, Sunset Strip, and they were credited with, bringing hair metal to the masses, and that whole sound at the time, sort of taking on what Van Halen had done, but making it, sleazier and less musicianship and more about the image than the actual music. But I went to see Motley Crue, was it last? No, it was the year before last, so probably a year and a half ago. They played Marley Park supporting Def Leppard, and I wasn't overly impressed. It was good to see them, but they had a lot of backing tracks, a lot of backing singers, and they also played a lot of cover songs, and it was kind of like a double headline show, so they had a good hour and a half to hour and 3/4 to fill, but they still managed to pack in about 6 covers. So that just goes to show you how much good music Motley Crue actually have. But are they pointless? I think that's probably a bit harsh. I think they do have their place in rock and roll and metal history, but yeah, it's not really down to their music. It's probably more down to their image and their stories and all the debauchery that went with Motley Crue. So yeah, I'd probably disagree with Andy on that one. And now the number one band that Andy has down here as the most pointless band of all time, he's got Foo Fighters. So Andy isn't a big fan of Foo Fighters. He is a big fan of Dave Grohl and Nirvana. He loves all that, but not a big fan of Foo Fighters. And his reasoning is that it's kind of led by Dave Grohl and it's corporate rock, safe kind of rock music for people that don't play instruments. And that's probably not a million miles off, to be honest. I do find certainly the newer Foo Fighters albums are hard to listen to. Like they're very overproduced. Foo Fighters are working with a producer called Greg Hurston now for the last 3 or 4 albums, and it's become very formulaic, the hits on them, and they just sound very radio friendly. I don't think they have the edge, certainly in the studio, that they used to have. However, watching them live, they're actually a great band live, and they do put in a lot of surprises in the show. Like I mentioned about Motley Crue killing it with covers, like putting in too many, but Foo Fighters will put in like a number of covers or parts of covers just to keep the crowd going. And they're not doing this to fill out the set list because they'll play for over 2.5 hours. They're doing this because they just like having fun on stage. And I think that's one thing, if you go and see Foo Fighters live, you will definitely, experience them having fun on stage. And that's a great thing to witness. So yeah, I do think Foo Fighters have a place in history. I can understand why Andy thinks they're pointless, but at the same time, I think they do have a place in there. So I disagree with most of your list, Andy, to be fair. Yeah, so feel free to come on and respond. And if you like the video, hit the like button, guys. If you could also leave a comment below, let me know what bands you think are pointless. And I will talk to you on the next one. Bye for now.